Welcome, dear students. Today we are going to begin with a new story, Weathering the Storm in Earsama. Okay? Weathering the Storm in Earsama. Let us begin the story. So we see here a boy, Prasant's visit to Earsama and coming of storm. Okay, Prasant goes to where? He goes to Earsama, and there what happens? A storm comes. Let us see. Prasant went to his friend's house in Earsama on 27th October 1999. Keep in your mind these dates, okay? It was 7 years after his mother's death. Okay, Prasant's mother had died already when 7 years before. In the evening, heavy and continuous rain filled the darkness. Okay, we see heavy and continuous rain filled the darkness. Thereafter, what happened? Trees were uprooted. That means there were heavy winds. The waters entered the friend's house. Keep in mind the water, whatever was, it was heavy rain. Therefore, the water started spreading everywhere and entered all the houses, including Prasant's friend's house. Okay. The speed of the wind was, keep in mind, dear students, 350 kilometers per hour. The scene of distraction. Now, what happened in Prasant's friend's house? Everything was destroyed there. Keep in mind, everything was destroyed. The scene of destruction was horrible, terrible. Okay, Prasant and his friends' family had taken refuge where on the roof. Keep in mind, they were, because water had already spread every part of the place. Even it had entered the ground floor maybe. So they had gone where? They took the refuge on the terrace, on the roof. Prasant won't forget the horrible scene that he saw. That is what he says, Prasant. Okay, he was greatly shocked to see a huge sheet of water, spread of water all over, everywhere that water had spread. Okay, it covered everything as far as the eye could see. Okay, if you go to some sea and all, you can see, no, how big it is, how much the water spreads. The same way, this also, no, this heavy wind and rainfall was too much that it has spreaded everywhere. Houses were broken. Keep in mind, houses were broken. Dead animals, human bodies floated everywhere, dear students. Shocking things, all this by hearing. Huge trees had fallen. Keep in mind, 2 coconut trees had fallen on house of Prasant's friend. Keep in mind, Prasant's friends, what had fallen? Coconut trees, 2 coconut trees. Its tender coconut kept them alive for several days. We are not talking about 1 day or 2 days. Okay, we are talking about many days. Okay, suppose a flood comes. What happens? If water level has raised, then automatically have to terrace and there will be no food, nothing to cook. Same thing happened here also. So they took coconut water and survived for quite many days. Now what happens, dear students? Now Prasant gets ready to go home. Keep in mind, he had been with his friends, family members, but now he feels to go home because it has been quite long time, maybe 3, 4, 5 days. Prasant sat huddled, okay, just worried and thinking what to do, confused. Rooftop with his friends' family. You're sitting on the rooftop with his friends' family. They were nearly frozen in cold. Keep in mind, they were also nearly frozen in cold. Prasant thought of his family. Now he is thinking about his family. His family was in the village, and this is quite in the town area. So automatically, when people live in the village, automatically what happens? Their houses and other things will be destroyed. Same thing he was thinking. He decided to go now. Keep in mind who Prasant were to his village. Though his friends family asked him to stay back, it was a dangerous, so automatically they thought not to allow him to go. Prasant was worried about his family, keep in mind. So he got a strong stick, keep in mind, strong stick, keep in mind. He then started on his 18 kilometers journey. How many kilometers? 18 kilometers journey from his house, okay, to his village. Okay, the flood waters were swollen, mixed up with many things. Okay, so it was looking terrible. So dear students, what we are going to see here, Prasant starts going towards his house despite all the difficulties. Prasant waded through water, moved towards his house by making the way. Okay, then we see on the way he found two friends of his uncle. His uncle's friends were coming from, maybe they also were coming from town somewhere, they might have gone. Okay, they were also returning home. They had to push away many floating dead bodies of human beings, animals, and other things also. There were hardly any houses left in the village. Basically, houses in the villages are made of mud. Okay, so they removed those things and started moving towards their village. Prasant wept, thinking that no one in his family would have survived. He was thinking nobody might have survived as he is going towards his village. Okay, so we see finally Prasant reaches his village. That is, the place name is Kalikuda. Okay, keep in your mind, the place where he belongs to is Kalikuda. The roof was the only thing that was left of his house. So only the roof was left. Apart from that, nothing was left. So he went to the Red Cross shelter. Okay, Red Cross shelter already people were there. No, they were being shifted because it was quite many days by now. So those who were surviving, they were kept there. So he went that place. Okay, to look for his what? Look for his family members. He saw his maternal grandmother there. Okay, it was a miracle for them to see Prasant alive. They thought that Prasant was dead, Prasant to be dead. Okay, and we see at the end Prasant's family was there. Now what happens? Prasant now reaches his village. Now he goes to that Red Cross area where they have kept the survivors. So now the thing is, he wants to do something. So we see here he becomes the leader of his village. Prasant decided to assess the damage and the danger awaiting the survivors. So he looks around and understands and wants to repay back the damage it has been done, and also whatever people were like, basically not the material things, but basically he wants to do something for the people, those who are surviving there, like food items, or maybe daily needs, requirements, etc. Okay, and also we see here all the houses in the village had been washed away. We know that in his village, so they were brought here where the Red Cross zone. Okay, Prasant organized a group of youths, okay, of his village, and what they did, it pressurized the merchant to give them some rice. They might have talked to the merchant, okay, who was having some kind of rice and whatever the food items. So they talked to him and they asked him, but how many days they could ask. So what happens? They made a fire and cooked the rice. After that, they got some kind of rice, let us say rice or maybe food items, etc., and they cooked and gave to the people, those who were there. But however, rice was rotting. Okay, whatever was left they gave, but that man was also, whatever he was having was also getting rotten, and the rice what they cooked was also not in good condition. So what happened? Say they thought of doing something. So his next step was to clean the place of filth. So whatever rice they got, they ate maybe, and still he wanted to do some other works like cleaning of the places, filthy areas, dirty areas, okay, and some kind of dead bodies are floating around there maybe. So they started removing all that. Keep in mind, okay. So these are the works he did. Now we'll see children find a way how to get food from above. Now they have to get food, and merchants, the rice whatever he had, the food items were also getting rotten. So now they wanted to get something fresh one. So they learn how to get food from above. Above means here some kind of groups were distributing the food, maybe with the helicopters and something else. Okay, so government was giving some kind of food, so they wanted to get the food. So children, they plan out how to get. Okay, on the fifth day a military helicopter dropped food. Keep in mind, the fifth day children learn how to get the food, and that is how helicopter dropped some food, but it didn't return after that. Okay, the group deputed the children to lie there. Keep in mind, okay, they dropped some food, but after that they were not coming back again. So what they thought of doing, they deputed the children to lie there. They told the children to lie down there, and they had the empty utensils like plates and other things, okay, and they put on their stomach, okay, by sleeping there, so that they could see from above. Okay, it was to communicate to the passing helicopters that they were hungry. Keep in mind, so that is what they wanted to do, that they wanted to communicate that the group of people there were hungry. It was to communicate to the passing helicopters. The children were lying there to indicate that they were hungry. Okay, and finally, that is how those were passing by there, they realized these people, those were there were hungry, and they dropped the food again. Okay. Now let us see. Prasant becomes a savior and a social worker. By this time he has done a lot of work. He has arranged food from the merchant. Again he gives some kind of suggestions how to get food from above, and he cleaned up the places. So we see a lot of work he has done for those who are surviving, and by this time he seems to be a social worker. Okay, so he brought the orphan children and made a shelter for them also. Orphan children, here what it means, dear students, is those who had lost their parents. Okay, but he soon found that women and children were sinking in deeper and deeper in their grief. So this part we have to understand, because some parents, they had lost their children, and some children, they had lost their parents. So automatically they are sinking in sadness, sinking deeper and deeper in their grief. Okay, he made them join the food for work program. Okay, and that is how he made them kept them busy. Okay, so it was started by a non-government organization, NGO, as you know. He engaged other volunteers to help keep widows to start their lives. He wanted to keep going. He wanted life should keep going. Okay, that is how he encouraged children, widows, and etc. And we see also, he also believed that orphans should be resettled. Here it is resettled. Okay, he thought orphans should be resettled. Okay, how? In different ways, in their own community. Suppose those parents, those who don't have children, they will adopt. Okay, adopt some children, and children also should be replaced to the parents. Okay, and also we see some parents, their children, some parents they did not have, and some children so that is how they let's say resettle the whole community according to their possibilities. So that is what we see, he resettled them in their own communities by adopting the children. Okay, so let us see the next page. Now The days were passing. After 6 months, what happens? 6 months has passed. Soon after, okay, super cyclone. Okay, Prasant now thought about himself. Okay, before that we see he was never thinking about himself. Now he's thinking about. Now after 6 months we are talking about after 6 months. So what do we see? Prasant now thought about himself. Earlier he had no time to bother about his own pain, sorrows and difficulties. So here all the children and widows, they cared for whom? They cared for Prasant too. Okay, so the widows and the children, orphan children of the village thought of Prasant only in their hours of grief. Whenever they were sorrow, they thought of Prasant, and whenever Prasant was in problem and difficulties, they were always there to be with him. Okay, so that is how the life was going on. So dear students, we see ultimately the Prasant, what he did in Earsama was a wonderful work he has done, and that is how every student should learn in the life ahead. Okay, so thank you very much. I hope you understood the chapter. Have a good day.